I'm going to be talking about content marketing, specifically what we call media brand marketing. Actually, I'm just going to see if I can get through on this one. So, media brand marketing is a particular category of content marketing. It's the high end. Media brand marketing is the distribution of non-promotional content directly through a company-owned media portal, platform, or other medium, as a branded media entity. A media brand is actually the extension of your own company brand as a media entity, distributing content directly to a target audience rather than through a third-party media company. So you actually don't just act like a media, you actually become media. There's lots of examples. If you're in marketing and advertising, you probably know about this one. This is literally the first media brand ever. It's the Furrow magazine. It was published by John Deere in 1895 because they couldn't find any way to get their ads out into where the farmers that they bought their tractors. So it worked. It worked like a charm. It's published every month, 1.5 million subscribers. It's quite amazing. The articles, if you look at the articles, are real articles like you would find in any other real magazine about that particular topic. So if you're reading like a National Geographic, that's the quality, okay? It's true journalism. Articles are written by real subject matter experts, and you know, the farmers really are learning something, right? Everybody, if you heard the expression content is king, no, compelling content is king. And this is kind of what you have to do if you really want people to pay attention. The question is, where do the ads go? It's very simple. They own the whole magazine. They put them wherever they want. They own all the ad space. You can't buy ad space in the magazine. All you see in this magazine are ads for tractors. So there's the article on one side and the ad on the other. I'm going to come back to that. It's an important point when you think about content marketing. How are you going to mix promotional and non-promotional content? Well, there's your answer. They even have two-page ads whenever they want them because they own the ad space. They also now have 8 other magazines. The model is so successful. So for every vertical that they sell products to, has their own magazine. Now, in contrast to that, I'm going to show you some examples of how not to do it. This is a magazine that came across my attention about a year ago. It's New Roads by Chevy. I own 2 Chevys, so I'm a big Chevy fan, but there's some problems with how they do this. It looks like a real magazine, right? It looks like if you were like car and driver or something like that. So that's sort of what your expectation is, and if you open it up right away, you see, oh, this looks like an interesting article. Home, smart home. It's an article about the Internet of Things in your home, right? Only problem is it's only about 4 or 5 short paragraphs, right? If I'm the editor of the New York Times and you bring this article to me, you might get fired. And on top of that, it leads right into, look at that, an ad for OnStar 4G Lite Network. Does that look like a setup to you? A little bit. Here's the next one. Okay, media content, heads up, that's the name of the article. This is, oh, it's not an article. It looks like an article. It's actually an ad featuring the Chevy Cruze. That's one of my cars. It's followed by 4 snippets. Okay, now that looks like an article, but no, it's just more promotional content about other Chevy cars. Totally suck you in the idea that you're still reading an article. No, it's not even advertorial. It's just a straight ad. Okay, now we come to something that looks like a really good article. Gifting durability. This article is all about why you don't want to buy your stepfather or your father-in-law, your mother-in-law an $8 coffee cup mug for Christmas. You want to buy him a $60 coffee mug. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but that's the concept. And again, another 4 or 5 paragraphs, very short article, and it leads right into an ad for a dependable, durable Chevy truck, right? So the setups are really obvious. I'm going to give you one more here. Here's an article. This one I thought, oh, finally, a really good article. 5 keys to small business success. It looks pretty good, but oops, here we go. Now, I can't even tell if that's an ad or what it is, or an ad, or it looks like it's part of the article. What it is it's so blended in, you can't tell where the article stops and this advertorial content starts. What you've got there is a little piece featuring, guess what, the Chevy trucks he uses in his small business. You kind of see how this goes. One last shot here, off the path. This looks like a typical article you'd find in a travel magazine. They go to 3 cities, one in California, one in Oregon, one in New Hampshire. They're all over the country. They hired journalists, I think. They may have it in-house, I don't know. An agency probably did it for them. So they write these articles, and I don't have all the pages here, but they have mostly photographs. Again, only a handful of paragraphs in each article. They have lots of pictures, but it's funny you don't notice at first there's a Chevy Cruze, and it's the same Chevy Cruze in all 3 cities. So pretty much a promotion for the Chevy Cruze, followed by what looks like a real article, but guess what? That is an ad. So that's not how to do it. If you do it right as a media brand and you build really good media-like content or real media content, you're building a relationship. And think about the furrow as an example. Your relationship with farmers, it's continuous, right? They're highly engaged. They're genuinely interested in the content, bingo. They're highly qualified prospects for you. They're probably interconnected to each other, and they have high brand awareness. Okay, I mean, that's, you won the whole ballgame right there. If you're thinking about sales, Chevy, Shelley, I'm calling you Chevy, Shelley, the first part of selling is establishing credibility and trust, right? So here you've done it for your brand, and that's the goal. If you're just an advertiser, sometimes you have to be an advertiser. That's okay, but look at the contrast. Your relationship is periodic. Initially they're disinterested. You have to come over all those barriers as an advertiser to even come close to achieving what you can achieve as a media brand. The outcome metric speaks for itself. The furrow, as I said, has 1.5 million subscribers. As far as I know, New Roads has none. And what's funny is even though you can go look at the magazine online, there's no place to subscribe to it. If you're going to get this magazine, you're going to get it in the mail because you're in their database, right? So I hope that in a real simple way, shows you the distinction. A lot of big brands are embracing this idea of becoming not just media-like, because we've been preaching that in content marketing forever, but actually becoming media. And there's lots of examples. You can go to the Content Marketing Institute, and their site has tons of examples and stuff. You can learn from them too. The number one rule, though, to go back to that ad, is you don't mix media content and promotional content in the same piece of content, right? So the ad goes one place and the article goes somewhere else. Most people get that. It's kind of one of the fundamental lessons of content marketing. Rule number 2, and this is the big one from my point of view, is you want to market your media content first and then market your product. And the reason is you want to build an audience. The bigger your audience, the bigger your bank, right? So the people that are doing this really, really well are building, and again, go back to the furrow. So 1.5 million subscribers, that's their audience. It's not the entire target market, but it's a big chunk of it. And they're in communication with them all the time. So they build that audience by creating that content and answering a lot of questions that the farmers have about everything under the sun, and then they go back and promote their product. This graph is one I use in the workshops I do. This is just traditional marketing. I don't worry about the channels. It shows the channels on the side, but these are the key metrics that really matter in traditional marketing when you're doing promotional marketing, right? The lead capture, how many marketing qualified leads do you have, how many sales qualified leads do you have, and eventually how many customers do you have. I'm going to talk about this again tomorrow, but it's that important. Now I want to show you a whole new set of metrics. You can use these same metrics anytime you do content marketing, but certainly if you do media marketing, this really captures the whole concept. If you're marketing your content, what you're doing is you're creating an audience, but you're not capturing these as leads to sell. You're capturing them as leads for your content. They're subscribers to your magazine, right, if you're John Deere. In the marketing cycle, you have another marketing cycle. Looks just like the other set of conversions, but now you're marketing the content, not the product. Get them, sell the magazine first, get them to subscribe, and then move on with the ads. And then they're in your audience pool, and at that point, they can go right into your lead capture system. So if you do all this and you do it well, these loop cycles feed into each other. They all fit together, and it's very, very powerful. If you look at any of the examples, John Deere is just one of them that is doing this and doing it well. You'll see, this sort of explains everything that's going on. I sometimes call that a twin cycle marketing system, which was the official title of this presentation. So think of this, the set of loops on the left is the first cycle, and the traditional set of loops the second. All right, now I want to go through this pretty quick. I'm trying to give you as much information as I can, as quickly as I can, from the limited amount of time we have. But what it comes down to, if you want to really be good at content marketing,
Alpha deck 13, zone 7, basketball court. Alpha deck 13, zone 7, basketball court. Alpha deck 13, zone 7, basketball court.
Didn't know the basketball court was that important. Okay. Yeah. All right. So number one is you want to become a better subject matter expert. And number two is you want to become a better storyteller. Everybody that has an agency, that's kind of a goal, to become a great storyteller. But in terms of becoming a better subject matter expert, and I'm going to go into more detail, but here's a short list. Consume knowledge intelligently. So don't just subscribe to, the top first 5 blogs you find. Really dig down into the information and resources available in your industry. Know where the best stuff is and subscribe to that. Focus on core subjects. Decide in your own mind what's it going to be. In the marketing world, do you want it to be SEO? Do you want to be automated marketing? But in any industry, be clear about where you're building your expertise. Synthesize that information. Always, figure out how do the pieces fit together. That's an important point of being able to actually paint the big picture and explain things to people. Polishing off your own understanding is part of that. You do that by sharing, by communicating, by doing presentations, by brainstorming, constantly making sure that you're right about what you think you're right about. And then to top it all off, start developing your own theories, right? We don't all agree about everything. It's okay. We can disagree. We can have different theories about how things work. That's the way science works. But when you start coming up with your own ideas, that's kind of a good indicator that you've sort of crossed that line and you're becoming a real subject matter expert. Now, to become a better storyteller, again, a lot of you, this is not news for you, but I just want to go through it anyway. Focus on experience and outcomes. Connect people, things, events, facts, and emotions. Think visually. This is a good one for me. I wrote for a friend of mine who taught me video production. He came to me and I wrote a script for him, a 20-page storyline, and it was a movie I hope he makes someday. But it forced me to really think visually because every scene was going to be on screen, right? And from that, ever since I did it, I just always think visually now when I'm telling stories, the case studies, the customer experience, visually in your mind when you're talking about it, try to paint those pictures. And really important, become a better writer, speaker. Here, editorial standards apply. So think, okay, you're working for the New York Times now or Time Magazine. I'm challenging you, if you're in the marketing industry, raise the bar a little bit, and it'll definitely help your career. And again, polish and practice and perform all of those skills. Okay, now, what's my time? 10 minutes? Okay, so this is the last thing I want to leave you with. And I've written, 4 or 5 books on business and some other books as well. I like to write. I started writing books in 2008, and once I broke through that barrier, I was addicted. I suspect a lot of you people that make your living writing. I would encourage you to push yourself in that direction. But the first thing you got to do is you got to get good. You got to become a really good researcher, and so you can develop the content and write about it intelligently, right? So this is my process for doing everything you have to do to really build up that bank of knowledge and write about it. So you start with research. What's known and what's not known. Again, just have that constantly be polishing off your list of resources you go to, and never, commit to spending 15, 20% of your time doing that. Clarify. So your understanding, always painting that big picture. That to me is the number one thing. So in marketing, You know, I often say that the fundamentals haven't changed, but everything else has. And it's really about building a marketing system, not just building campaigns. So that's an example of, you know, here's the big picture, right? That's really important for explaining everything. Explore the borders. So in any subject, particularly in science, you know, science don't study things that they don't have a clue about. They work their way out from what's known to what's not known. But you can know what you don't know. You may not know much about it, but you can say, well, here's a list of things that nobody knows a lot about. And, you know, when social media came out, we all had to go through that, right? You start knowing nothing, and as things evolve, you learn more. So focus on where the barriers are, where the borders are, because that's where you're going to find the most opportunities for learning something new. The brainstorming thing I mentioned earlier, always have a group of people you can brainstorm with. People that challenge your assumptions, that's really, really good, and always challenge everybody else's and challenge your own. And then, incredibly important, I hope you don't laugh because this is very serious. You have to trust your unconscious mind to process all of this stuff. So if you're buried in the books, you know, you gotta walk away. And here's my formula for doing this. It's called food, sex, and sleep. Literally, I mean, I'm not joking, just, you know, you have to put it out of your mind. And when I'm working on a new presentation, I do one every month at our local chamber, I literally forget about it for 3 or 4 days and come back fresh. And it's amazing. The more you trust your unconscious to process information, the more you learn how much it can do for you. Then come back, analyze the facts. How do the facts support the beliefs? Your beliefs about everything that you're telling people. You know, what really makes sense and what doesn't. Then identify trends and connections. That's commonly done with lots of topics, and a lot of journals and blogs focus on those things. But be sure you're connecting the dots, and then forget about it again. It's in there my list twice because it's just that important. I'm serious. It's like trust your unconscious to process information. And then come back fresh. And, you know, food, sex, sleep, I mean, you know, just force yourself to do it. I'm sorry. Then you come to the explanations. This is the part where you've got to literally, you know, like you do, like when I get up here, explain something like content marketing, you have to explain it. So be clear about, you know, what your explanations are and what your theories are. They don't have to be yours, but, you know, get grounded in, you know, what are those big picture explanations. Constantly review and validate everything because, you know, this marketing revolution never stops. It's continuously changing and evolving. And explain it all in the simplest way possible. Okay, it goes back to, you know, talking to the 8th grade level, but, you know, my role model for this is Carl Sagan. If you ever get a chance to see the original Cosmos series, I like the new one, but the original one was so incredible. Carl was the master of explaining, I mean, think about it, astrophysics to 8th graders. You know, it doesn't matter, you know, I learned really what the theory of relativity was for the first time in my life when I watched that show. And he explained it so simply by telling stories about how Einstein figured it out. And then I went, oh, I get it, right? So that's how we should always communicate if we can. Last one, just rinse and repeat. So I'll answer, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to do that. But I hope that helps. You know, we have to all become subject matter experts now. Really, I mean, that's where this is headed. Or we have to find them and work with them or mentor them. So we have our television channel, right, where we interview subject matter experts. And I have to drag them in front of the camera. And I'm talking about people that don't, you know, do that, right? The engineers, the people that are inventing everything, they're behind the scenes, the scientists, the technologists. But once I get them there suddenly and get them engaged in the conversation, they discover that they actually have a lot to say, right? So I would challenge you all to become better subject matter experts, whatever your industry is. If you're a marketing person, same thing, right? And then we all need to co-mentor each other for the rest of our lives and share. And I hope you do that for the rest of this week. Any questions on any of that? I think it was pretty straightforward. You know, I tried to keep it simple. All right, I guess that's it then. Shall I turn it back to you? Okay, right, and we'll be all going to lunch and...
Yeah, with the layout, we need to walk up a flight of stairs to level 4, and we can walk through, I think that's the casino level, through to the other end, to
Okay, thank you. Thank all of you. And thank all our speakers, by the way.